Hi everyone, my name is William Connor, and the title of my informative speech is What is Alcohol and How Does It Affect the Human Body? My specific purpose is to inform you guys what alcohol is, why is important to that the why is it important that the legal age is 21, and how it affects the human body. Alcohol can affect the human body mentally, physically, and socially. Just to get started, I'm going to ask a couple questions. How many of you guys ever drank before the age of 21? Also, how many of you guys ever drank so much that you forgot what happened that night? Those who raise your hands to either of those questions probably have suffered from damages of alcohol to the body, also known as a hangover. Um, when I was little, my mother was an alcoholic until I was 16. I'm 20 now, so she's been sober for 4 years. But growing up, I saw the firsthand damaging effects of alcohol. Although alcohol is legal, if consumed too much, it can leave major impacts on the body. In this speech, I will deal with things that you need to know about alcohol, what alcohol is, how it affects the body, and how alcoholics deal with it on a daily basis. So the first thing I'm going to get into is what is alcohol. Alcoholic is an organic compound of which a hydroxyl function group is bound to a saturated carbon atom. Alcohol is formed when yeast ferments the sugar in different foods. Ferments meaning the breakdown without oxygen, so the breakdown of sugar in different foods. There are four beverages of alcohol. There's beer, cider, wine, and liquor. Beer consists of the breakdown of sugars in barley. Cider consists of the breakdowns of sugar in apples. Wine consists of the breakdown of sugars in grapes. And liquor consists of the breakdown of sugars in potatoes. My parents, since I'm only 20, I interviewed my parents and about the different alcohols and what different alcohol gave a different emotion, how it made them feel. And when I asked my mom this, she said beer made her feel calm and relaxed. This would be her preference of alcoholic beverage after a long day at work or a stressful day. But when she was younger, to be social, she would drink liquor to loosen up more and be more outgoing. But this is just a preference. Let me keep you guys in mind that it's just a preference. It's just an opinion. Alcohol affects people differently. It's just for someone who hasn't drank alcohol before, kind of think of it as a preference of soda. How some people like Coke, how it goes down their throat more than they like Pepsi or vice versa. But let's get into why it is important to keep the legal age 21, because before it was at 18, and the problem with this was high schoolers, seniors would drink during school nights, leaving their and then not showing up to school the day after, so their attendance would fall. And there was a common theme of more accidents of intoxicated young adults. So in 1984, the National Minimum Drinking Age Act was passed, and this required every state in the United States to raise their legal age of drinking to 21. And with this, the rate of accidents dropped by 16%. After the previous months, from the ranges of 18 and 20-year-olds, drinking declined by 59%, and from 1985 to 1991, it declined 40%. And when someone who starts drinking at age 21 compared to age 18, their dependency on alcohol is a lot lower because of their brain still developing. Since we talked about the age, since we talked about what alcohol is and why it should still be at 21, we can talk about how alcohol affects the body. Alcohol is under a depressant and is a toxin to the body. Alcohol affects the brain development. When alcohol is consumed by the body, it uses sugar, the glucose, to break down the molecules. The problem is with this is the brain feeds off this glucose. So when your body is rushing all the glucose to your liver to break down this alcohol, it's leaving your brain and leaving other major parts of your body just to break down the alcohol. This causes dehydration, thin of blood. It also causes hangovers. That's why you get the hangovers in the morning, because of dehydration. Your brain is suffocated from the alcohol. So what are some triggers that doctors have been able to identify that causes an overconsumption of alcohol? Things such as depression, stress, lack of food, sleep, and hormone changes. Depression is bad for a person to drink alcohol, because alcohol is a depressant in itself, which will only make their situation worse and should not be looked as an outlet for them. But since we learned about all the how it affects the nervous system and how it thins out the blood in the brain, we can go on to talk about how alcoholics deal with it and how there's recovery. After going to a couple AA meetings to interview some alcoholics, the first thing I heard about when they were sharing their stories was that, it sounds a little cliche, but to take it every day, take one day at a time. Some days are going to be harder than others, just like everything, but what they look upon is they feel better without being so dependent on alcohol. They feel a relief. They feel more of themselves. When they would share their stories about when they were drinking, it was kind of more of a third sense like story. They would talk about themselves like as a different person, as their old self, and now they're this new person, which is great. And then for the conclusion, alcohol is consumed when consumed in can hold some health benefits, but if it's overly consumed, it can affect the body negatively. Alcohol is fermentations of sugar from different fruits and vegetables, and it shouldn't be consumed until the age of 21 due to brain developments and accidents and other society issues. Alcohol can affect not only people, but can affect the person individually, their productivity, their reputation in the workplace, their relationship with family members. Can also can affect the people in a physical way, but also in the workplace. So after hearing the effects of alcohol, how many of you here had a bad encounter with alcohol?